Hobbies fill your life with meaning. Without them, it's easy to waste hours scrolling, watching stupid shit online, and wondering where all the time went. You know how bad that feels. And in fairness, it's not entirely your fault. You come home after a long day at work or school, and there's nothing else to do, so scrolling is what you default to. So then the solution is not to punish yourself, but to slowly fill that void with something wholesome and meaningful. A hobby. Now, you can't do everything. I'm sorry, I know it hurts to hear. But it's true, you can't do everything. And that is why I always say, instead of trying to do every single hobby out there, just try and make sure that every aspect of your life is covered by something. And what I mean by that is you need something intellectual, something physical, something social, and something creative. That way you feel fulfilled and balanced. And not only do you accomplish things in a material sense, but also in a more creative and spiritual way. I'll recommend you some hobbies of mine that I think are good starting points, but of course that's just me. You have to explore far and wide yourself to find what clicks with you. First, everybody needs an intellectual hobby. Now, I get it. It's easy to finish school and feel burned out with education. It's not fun to be told what you have to learn, when you have to learn it, and you have to deal with bad professors, assignments, all the stress and pressure built around that. But I promise you that's no reason to write off learning as a whole. You can let your natural curiosity guide you to explore new ideas, to learn new skills, to really find what speaks to you. You can get stuck into these rabbit holes, into these niche little interests that really just give you this buzz that you can't describe. There's so many people out there who don't know what it feels like to be obsessed with something and to want to learn everything there is about it. But I promise you it can happen. You just have to find it. Okay, unsurprisingly here, my favorite hobby is reading. And I mean careful, deep and active reading of great literature. Because, it improves your vocabulary, it helps you articulate your thoughts to the world, and it gives you a deepened understanding of the world, the other people around you, and also yourself. You get to learn amazing things from the most intelligent and interesting people out there, no matter when or where they lived. It's crazy if you think about it, honestly. You hear different perspectives that give you a more complete view of the world, beyond our narrow personal experience. Because, we're just one person. We can't see all there is to see, and reading unlocks those windows. It's incredibly affordable too, if not free most of the time. It's fun, it's relaxing, and it makes you a more interesting person. And that's important because, I don't mean to sound harsh, but a lot of people out there are just boring as hell. The conversations are flat, and I'm not saying we have to get PhDs or anything, but come on, there's a minimum to it. And it's not just books nowadays either. You can learn from debates, from interviews, from articles, podcasts, all of that stuff. And pretty much all of it is free, which is, we're incredibly lucky to have that. It's even better when you approach it with an active mind, when you do the note-taking, the reflection, the repetition, the conversations, which is what really makes things stick. And, you don't end up watching 10 things and forgetting them all the next day. Your body is the seat of your mind. And if you neglect it badly enough, both will die. Sorry for the dark image there, but it's kind of true. And that's why we need a physical hobby, some form of training or exercise that keeps us happy, healthy, and full of energy well into our life. And, you'll end up looking better, which is pretty cool. We can be shallow every now and then. It's okay to judge books by their cover. A physical hobby includes things like the gym, running, martial arts, or some sort of group sport or activity. I personally like the consistency of a gym routine because I can just go into my shed, kind of turn my mind off and just go with the flow. And it brings me a sense of peace and ritual. Speaking of the shed, this is it. This is what I forged my award-winning, impressive, unmatchable physique and also my humility. It's not much, but it's good. It's freezing in the winter. Maybe you can see from the condensation from my mouth. And it is baking in the summer. It gets horrible in here when all the heat is trapped and everything. And it's not even waterproof nowadays. But if you can get yourself a home gym, something, for the money you're putting into that, you're getting so much in return. And I would recommend you do it, even if it's a bit of a mess like this one. I will show you that you don't need much to have something good, to have something where you don't need to rely on a membership or, wasting money finding a good gym that isn't busy. So as you can see, everything is completely rusted. It's all random bits of equipment that I've gathered over the years. And in fairness, a lot of it is my fault. The rust is my fault. And we even have bullshit equipment like this. What is that? what is this? It looks like something that comes out of Mad Max. It's just crazy. And you'd be surprised at how affordable this stuff is. It's really not as expensive as you may think, especially for what you're getting in return. And even if that means just like a pair of dumbbells like these, right? Just some simple dumbbells that you can adjust. That costs what, less than $100? For what you're getting, it's worth it. So if you do need a way to start the gym and you don't really care for the discount ones that are, honestly, they're lackluster, I would recommend looking into something like this, even just a pull-up bar. And you don't even really need a space for it. You should really, I did start with just those dumbbells and I also considered one of those pull-up bars in the doorway. It's simple stuff like that. And maybe eventually you get yourself a bench or some more weight for your dumbbells. And that is enough. That is enough for a good workout, literally in your garage or wherever. Okay, let's move back now because I'm going to die of exposure. Now that we're back, I also recommend some form of cardio. Because, it's good to have strength and muscularity as a guy or girl, but we also don't want to be out of breath after climbing a flight of stairs. If you're familiar with the online fitness sphere, you'll see these bodybuilders, these influencers, powerlifters, whatever. They are incredibly strong, they have great physiques, but they're not really healthy. This epitome of health we see, their cardio is terrible, they're doing all this bullshit with crazy bulks and steroids and weird supplements. Is that really what we want? Is that what we're trying to aim for? I don't think so. I think we've lost the plot and lost sight of what we're truly starting this for, which is good health. I have an abusive relationship with running, but I still have to recommend it as a good form of cardio. It's easy to get into, and all you need is a pair of shoes and then you're off. In not much time, you'll feel better and you will feel your cardio improving. It's really satisfying. Group sports are also great. I mean, things like football, squash, tennis, anything with other people, because you get that added social benefit and they're fun. I mean, they're just fun to play and you don't feel like you're working out necessarily. And you also get to tap into that competitive element, which we don't really get to see in our lives much. And it's really nice to have that outlet for it. Martial arts are the same. You improve your cardio, you meet new people, build friendships, you have fun in the process, and you also learn how to fight, which is a damn good skill to have, especially if you're a man. Now, the common thread in all of them is that you feel healthier, you feel more confident and attractive, and you build a sense of discipline, routine, and mental fortitude. Now, those last two matter because it's very easy to become a bit soft and pampered nowadays. We need that artificial struggle and hardship in our life so that we can keep that away. We live in the loneliest era ever. Strong friendships are becoming rarer than ever, and that's especially once you leave school or college and people start to drift apart. The internet, ironically, hasn't really helped in that. It just made us more isolated because we can trap ourselves in our room all day. We can order food, we can meet people online, which is not the same. We're just trapped. Now, I know that because my social life was a wreck a few years ago, and I'm still working on fixing it and patching up those holes. If you want to keep this pain far away, then it's good to have a social hobby, something that pushes you together with people to build, meaningful connections and find a sense of belonging for people who actually respect you for who you are. And chances are through these groups or interactions, you'll find really good friends, maybe even your future husband or wife. It's that important. When I started college, I moved from London to Cork, a city in Ireland. And of course, the city was new to me. I didn't know anyone. It was all a fresh experience. And I was awkward, I was shy, and I was also desperately lonely. And I knew that despite being scared to go out, I had to find people. Because if I just stayed in my room all day, some form of depression was guaranteed. It would happen. It would end up that way if that continued. I tried my best to get out there and, talk to people. I tried college societies, I tried the gym, board games nights with my then housemates, and it wasn't always successful. I was still awkward and shy, and sometimes it just left me with embarrassing moments, but it was the only way I could, A, get used to it, and B, develop some sort of social skills which would help me in the future. Through that constant practice, and almost without me realizing, I became more confident. My shyness is nowhere near as much as it used to be, and I'm happy to just get out there and meet people and, spark those new friendships maybe. But look, building the basics of a social life, that's for another video. For now, we're talking about hobbies. Of course, you may realize before I mentioned group sports, that's a great way to start. Any team sport, any social hobby, that's going to naturally push you towards other people who already share a common interest with you. So you can just get along just like that by talking about the thing you love. Aside from that, you have board games nights like D&D and stuff if you're into that. You have hobby groups, you have dance, you have run clubs, you have the gym, you have martial arts clubs. There's so many places where people get together to just do what they like. And if you like what they like, then you build those bridges. It's easy. Or at least it's easier than with some stranger. Now, we're all a bit weird in our own way. And these groups that are centered around an interest are very good at helping weird people find other weird people, and they just start vibing. And I mean that in the best of ways. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be a hobby. You can just meet with people and share a drink with them or walk around the city. You know, me and my friends, we meet at the pub every week or share a meal every now and then. It's not productive, but it's damn important to keep those connections alive and to just have a chat sometimes. In this world, we consume. We have 100 subscriptions to bullshit. We buy stuff we don't need, and we just spend our time going from screen to screen looking for the next hit of pleasure. It feels good on a primitive level. All this consumption, the sugar, the TikToks, the porn, the music, the drugs, they make our brain think we're doing well. Our reward centers are flooding us with dopamine. You know the story. Obviously, the reality is different. When we get stuck in these addictive spirals, we struggle to be happy. If anything, it leads to depression, isolation, and a whole host of other things depending on what we're stuck onto. And, you know, that makes us long something more, something higher. We feel empty almost. It's a complex issue, of course, and I'm not here to end it as a whole. But what we can do to fight it a bit is to have an outlet for our creativity, a creative hobby. This gives you a way to slow down, to find peace, and to express your character into the world. A hobby like this will make you not just a consumer, but a creator too. And I'll admit, it's going to be harder than before, but with that effort comes a sense of achievement waiting for you at the end. Nothing meaningful ever came without a little bit of struggle. My favorite creative hobby, again to no one's surprise, is writing. This is how we speak to the world nowadays, and if you can practice it with just a few minutes per day, you can really discover a lot about yourself, what you think. You can articulate yourself in a way that was never possible before. With the skill of writing, you can teach and entertain people. You can inspire emotions, and you can even make a living off of it. Because businesses are built on good writing. It's that valuable. And of course, I love to make videos. But when I say that, I mean you can do anything online that is centered around your passions and your interests. Many people see that as completely unachievable and unrealistic, but ironically, it's that exact belief which stops them from ever doing it in the first place. It's a snake that eats itself. It just doesn't make sense. You can start recording videos on your phone today. You can start writing online today. You can start posting your artwork on Instagram today. Now, I know it sucks, but it's probably not going to be seen at first. People won't appreciate it as much as it deserves. And you might not be so good at it either. That's okay. You don't have to be great from the beginning, but what you are doing is planting the seeds for a long-term creative future. Something that you can really nourish and be proud of. It's hard at first, and we all suck at first, but as long as you improve a little bit each day, it will go somewhere great. And of course, keeping it as a private hobby is great too. It gives you a chance to slow down and to find some peace in the day. I also strongly recommend cooking as something creative. Now, it is an art. No matter what you say, it is an art. Because you have to practice your intuition, you have to know how foods come together, you have to, there's all the techniques to learn, like knife skills, plating, heat transfer, and it all comes together in not only something creative, but something really useful. You get some damn delicious meals out of it. It's also one of those skills that makes life better for everyone. I mean, you have to cook in your life at some point, and you may as well do it right and enjoy a delicious meal at the end of it. You can also really treat and impress the people around you. Nothing feels better than, making a dinner for everyone and knowing you pulled it off. It's the best feeling. But beyond those few hobbies I mentioned, there are so many to explore. This is by far the biggest area. There's filmmaking, there's photography, there's design, there's painting, there's music, there's fashion, cooking again. And there's all these little niche things like perfumery, ham radio, painting miniatures. There's so many little things for you to explore. It can seem daunting when you don't know what you want to do and you keep starting and quitting different things, but don't regret that, because that trial and error, that exploration is how you find what clicks. I've started and stopped so many different things in the past, but it was only through that process that I could find what I loved. Sometimes it's a question of patience, or you feel like you don't have the skills to start something new. That's understandable, it happens, and I recommend you keep trying, keep pushing to see if it really is for you. But it's also okay if you just don't vibe with the hobby. You don't have to enjoy everything, and not every single thing you start has to be continued for life. It's just not going to happen. However, if you don't know where to start, you struggle with that idea, I'd recommend just diving into all these little rabbit holes. Explore your interests, explore things that intrigue you from afar. Have a look online, see what people are doing, see hobbies that are recommended, and explore them for yourself. Really get stuck in. Many of those rabbit holes will lead to dead ends, and you'll abandon them, and that's okay. But if 1 out of 50 is, you discover is your lifelong passion, it's worth it. Also, don't believe that you have to have exactly one hobby for each of the 4 areas. Intellectual, physical, social, and creative. Sometimes one hobby will cover 2 or 3, maybe even 4 areas, and that's okay too. For example, you might go to a boxing club every week, and that is both physical and social. Or you might like coding, which you can argue is both creative, but also intellectual. It scratches both itches, and that is totally valid. The point is to build a set of hobbies that gives you a balanced life and you don't feel deficient in any area. I really appreciate you for watching, and if you like these videos, you'll probably also like the newsletter. I've linked it down below. It's free to sign up. It's not spammy at all. And of course, we talk about similar things here on the channel: reading, writing, creativity. But then there's also room for more unique, different things. Stuff you wouldn't see here, so don't miss that out. For example, I recently sent out a book review. And you wouldn't see that on the channel, but here it is. And finally, I always love to hear what you're getting up to. Like, what hobbies do you have that tick off these 4 boxes? Because, it's always nice to take inspiration, to learn about new things, maybe to try them myself. And I guarantee if you go looking through the comments, people are super helpful. They share some really interesting stuff and they will inspire you as well. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'd love to hear it.